Okay, let's dive into this fascinating look at how true cleanliness goes far beyond just soap and water. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really insightful piece by Pak Suggesti Martsono called The Spiritual Architecture of Cleanliness and Habitual Renewal. You know, we live in a world that is completely obsessed with hygiene, right? Skincare routines, aesthetic organization, the whole shebang. But what if true cleanliness is about way more than just scrubbing up? Let's unpack how the invisible things we do every single day might actually be building up this profound layer of grime right on our souls.
Have you ever experienced this? Your body's bathed, your clothes smell amazing, your physical space might even be perfectly in order, but for some reason, your heart still feels incredibly heavy. Why does the mind feel clouded and life just feels strangely cramped? It's a deeply relatable, very modern paradox. We can literally spend hours on self-care, applying the best perfumes, wearing the sharpest clothes, and yet we still walk around feeling internally weighed down and completely exhausted. The author points out that this heaviness, it's not some medical mystery. It's actually a symptom of invisible poisons that we are actively storing inside.
And this brilliantly illustrates the friction we feel, the disconnect between our outward appearance and our internal reality. We've got our physical baseline totally covered, bathed, groomed, smelling great. But then, notice how that spiritual dirtiness manifests itself? It shows up as a heavy heart, muddy thoughts, and a cramped life. The source material argues that we so often treat the physical symptoms, hoping it's going to cure the spiritual ones, but you absolutely cannot wash away a heavy heart with a luxury soap. That internal dirt, it requires a completely different type of cleansing.
So, this brings us to the core culprit behind all this friction. The author defines these invisible toxins as toxic habits. Now, we hear the word toxic all the time in modern pop psychology, right? But here, toxic habits aren't defined as these grand, dramatic failures. No, they are seemingly trivial, everyday habits that slowly, quietly erode the soul. They act as a silent poison, damaging a relationship with God, with others, and ultimately with ourselves. Think of it like the spiritual equivalent of plaque building up. It's totally invisible day to day, but structurally devastating over time.
So, what do these invisible toxins actually look like in our daily routines? Let's run through these common culprits rapidly, because honestly, they are incredibly relatable. First up, delaying prayer. You know the feeling, thinking, oh, I'll just do it later, until the time completely passes. Second, gossiping and speaking poorly of others. This is a fascinating one because gossip feels incredibly light on the tongue when you're doing it, but it sits incredibly heavy on your spiritual scales. Third, uncontrolled social media scrolling. We all do it, but the author specifically points out that doom scrolling isn't just a waste of time. It actively breeds envy and literally exhausts the mind. And finally, simple laziness in cleaning yourself and your environment. These are the micro behaviors that act as slow drip poisons to our spiritual well-being.
Let's slow down for a second and really absorb this image. These toxic habits are like dust sticking to a piece of glass, slowly blocking out the light. So the crucial point is that this spiritual dust accumulates until our hearts become dark, restless, and unable to receive good advice. It happens so quietly. One skipped prayer, one session of gossiping, 1 hour of doom scrolling. It's just a tiny speck of dust. But little by little, layer by layer, our hearts become dark. And when that glass is completely covered, the light of peace, clarity, and good advice simply cannot penetrate it. The heart just becomes restless and clouded, completely cut off from the light it desperately needs to thrive.
Which brings us to the foundational philosophy behind this entire concept. The Prophet Muhammad stated, "Cleanliness is half of faith." The source material emphasizes the profound authority of this hadith to remind us that true faith requires a holistic cleanliness. It's not merely a physical mandate, it's not just about washing your face or your hands, it's about maintaining clean intentions, a clean mind, and a heart completely free from those destructive, dusty habits we were just talking about. If half of faith is cleanliness, then leaving our internal glass covered in dust is a severe spiritual compromise. Let's move to and see how this builds a highly practical 5-step method for spiritual renewal. Because we need to know how to get the Windex out and clean that glass, right? The author gives us a really solid toolkit. We're going to walk through realizing the problem, linking intentions to worship, replacing bad habits, cleaning our physical space, and finally, befriending clean souls. Let's dive right into this.
Let's look at the first 2 steps. Step 1 is to realize and note your bad habits without any fear. You can't clean dirt you refuse to see, right? Honest self-awareness combined with righteous intentions provides the necessary foundation for a clean routine. Step 2 is incredibly powerful. Link your new intentions to worship. The author gives such a great example here. Instead of just saying, I want to sleep earlier, Say, I want to sleep earlier so I actually have the energy to wake up for the night prayer, the tahajjud. By anchoring a simple habit like your bedtime to a higher spiritual purpose, you literally transform a mundane routine into an act of worship. Now, what's really interesting here is how we can easily visualize the simple micro trade-offs we can make to replace heavy habits with light, positive ones. That's step 3. It's all about substituting. Instead of opening your mouth to gossip, you open a page of the Quran. Think about it. It takes the exact same amount of time, but the spiritual return on investment is drastically different. And instead of just laying around scrolling on your phone, you get up and clean the house. You're swapping an action that darkens the glass for an action that actively polishes it. It's a total game changer.
Steps 4 and 5 really blur the line between the physical and the spiritual. Step 4 is to clean your physical environment. The source notes that tidying your room, throwing away the trash, organizing your space, it actually directly transfers to inner cleanliness. It clears out mental clutter and prejudice. And finally, step 5, surround yourself with clean souls. Positivity and spiritual cleanliness are highly contagious. If you want to keep your internal glass clean, you absolutely need to be around people who are also focused on letting the light in, rather than hanging out with those who are constantly kicking up dust.
And this brings our narrative full circle, right back to that beautiful metaphor of the glass. The ultimate goal, as the author states, is to become a clean mirror. When you've done the work, when you've replaced those toxic habits, cleaned your environment, and surrounded yourself with good people, your heart becomes so clear and radiant that it doesn't just absorb light, it reflects it. You literally become a source of clarity for others, helping them to see themselves and their own potential more clearly. You transform from someone weighed down by spiritual dust into a true beacon of light.
As we wrap up this explainer, let's just take a deep, cleansing breath. The author invites us to start small, taking it little by little to make our lives lighter and our faith way more radiant. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative challenge. What is one single bad habit that you will clean up today? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Thank you so much for joining me. Keep your glass clean and let the light in.